Put a finger down if while in college during your sophomore year you were accidentally involved in an LAPD sting operation because your apartment complex got robbed and your apartment got broken into, and the guy who broke into your apartment stole your wallet and then used your ID to find you on Instagram and ask you out on a date. And so then once you were sure it was the guy who broke into your apartment, you called the police and the police were like, oh my god, this is so good, go on the date. And you were like, what? And then they were like, no, do it, just trust us. And so then you arranged an entire sting operation with them where you'd give them a tip off so that they could come and arrest him. And so then he got arrested right in front of you and went to jail. And so you called your mom thinking she would be so proud. And she was like, oh my god, he knows where you live, he knows what you look like, and he knows how to break into your apartment. You're gonna get murdered. And you were like, oh my god, no mom, it's fine, he'll be in jail. But then after 2 days he posted bail and immediately DM'd you on Instagram.
Put a finger down if this applies to you. Put a finger down if you are living. Put a finger down if you like the water. Put a finger down if you have touched a rock. Put a finger down if you like seafood. Put a finger down if you have fat on your body. You are a seal. Bark bark, says the fat seal.
Put a finger down, quarantine edition. Put a finger down if you've stayed up past 1 a.m. Put a finger down if you've tried to make a TikTok transition video. Put a finger down if you flirted with someone just because you were bored. Put a finger down if your screen time is above 11 hours. Put a finger down if you haven't taken a shower in the last 2 days. Put a finger down if you've played Minecraft. Put a finger down if you've wanted to buy a bunch of stuff online. Put a finger down if you've waited till Friday to start your week-long assignment. Put a finger down if you've done this until tomorrow crap. Put a finger down if you've tried working out at home but failed. And finally, put a finger down if you want to go back to school.
Put a finger down if about 2 years ago you were on your friend's boat and some kid came up to you and introduced himself and asked if you wanted to go on their jet ski, so you're like, sure, why not? So you went on the jet ski, and not even 5 minutes into this jet ski ride, he lost control of it and you smashed your face against the handlebars and fell off and you passed out in the water, and a kayaker came over and lifted your lifeless body out of the water and brought you to shore, and when you came to, everyone was standing around you and you were spitting out your own teeth, and then you had to get rushed by an ambulance to the hospital, and the doctor told you that you broke your jaw and your nose and a bunch of your teeth were missing and broken, and then the cops called you and they wanted to come to the hospital to get a report, and you're like, so when the cops got to the hospital, they inform you that the guy that introduced himself that was driving the jet ski was drunk and got arrested.
Put a finger down. Trip to A&E edition. Okay, put a finger down if you was ever 3 years old and you went to your mum's friend's house and that friend all of a sudden had some form of fan pole, but the fan wasn't on it and the spring was all the way down. And then the fan pole, all of a sudden, when you look down at it, you get told not to do it, but you do it anyway, and you undo the fan pole spring and go poof, and it hits you square in the face. All of a sudden, your skin starts flapping off the side of your face, and you're 3 years old, you don't know what's going on. You're like, ah! And your skin is literally sliding off your face. It's literally like it's off your face. I mean, and the skin is off your face, okay? And all of a sudden you're waking up in A&E with the mask on your face and you don't know what's going on. And then you all of a sudden wake up and you had a scar for 22 years on your eyebrow.
Put a finger down if when you were 11 years old, you walked into the kitchen and said, Mom, what's for dinner? And she said, we're having chicken. And I said, I want pasta. And she said, that's too bad, we're having chicken. So you said, I'll just make pasta myself. And you reached for the pasta and your mother grabbed your arm hard and said, we're having chicken for dinner. And then you looked at your arm and noticed you were bleeding and you screamed, how dare you, at your mother. And you walked up the stairs, you picked up the phone and called 911. When 911 said, 911, what's your emergency? You whispered, my mother. It hid under the bed until the police came.
And they came.
Put a finger down if when your brother was in high school, he snuck out one night and then he snuck back in at 4 a.m. through the basement door, but then when he opened the basement door to go back up to his room, he realized that your dad was sleeping on the living room couch, so then he called you at 4 a.m. and told you have to get your dad off the couch somehow, and you said, no, it's crazy, it's 4 a.m., I'm going back to sleep. But then he called you again and said, come on, you have to, you're my sister. So then being a good sister, you called your dad at 4 a.m. and all you could think of was that you wanted a glass of water, so you woke him up at 4 a.m. to ask if he could bring a glass of water upstairs, and he did. And then for the next 2 months, your entire family called you a diva, and your dad bought you a bell for your room, and your family still thinks you're high maintenance to this day because of it.
Put a finger down if you've ever been to Disneyland and when you went to Disneyland you decided to go on Space Mountain. Well, when you decided to go on Space Mountain, your brother wasn't in the same line as you, so he forced you to go from the front of the line all the way to the back of the line, which really made you mad because you had to wait another 2 hours. Well, whatever. You wait 2 hours, you finally get on the ride. Well, when you get on the ride, you're supposed to move over to let your brother in, but you don't want to, so you make him climb over you. Then you go on the ride. Well, when you leave the ride, 2 park employees start following you, and you're scared because you're like, am I going to get kidnapped? So you keep on walking faster and faster and faster. Well, then they finally catch up, and they want to talk to your parents. Well, they want to talk to your parents because they want to let you know that you, because of the seat you sat in, won a $500 shopping spree to all of Disneyland and the front of every ride while you're there, which means you get to go on Finding Nemo before everybody else, and you're super excited, and you're like, oh my god, this is insane. Well, yeah, put a finger down if that's ever happened to you.
Put a finger down if when you were 16 years old, your mom had called you while you were camping and said that some random girl put underwear in the back of your car. You both thought that was so strange, but you just let it happen because you thought it was homecoming prank. And then it kept happening after homecoming, and somebody thought it was so funny to put underwear in the back of your car while you were at home and even while you were at school. And then one morning when you went out to your car, there was underwear in the back of your car, and then there was a gift bag that had an iPad, a t-shirt, and a card in it, and the card said, "For you, Ashley, and your Man of Steel number 33XOXO," and that was your boyfriend's Instagram handle and his football number at the time. Your parents ended up getting security cameras and found out it was an older man putting underwear in the back of your car, and then you caught him looking through your windows as well. You ended up having this happen to you for 9 months, and you had 35 pairs of underwear in your car, and your parents wouldn't let you leave the house, and you were terrified to even go anywhere. And then you had a personal detective, and he figured out who it was, and then you had to go to court because this man was arrested for touching an 11-year-old girl in 15 cases of stalking, and you were one of them.
Put a finger down if when you were 16 you decide to go vegan and your family tells you that they don't support your choice, so you've got to buy and cook all of your own food. But you're really poor and lazy, so you just eat a lot of bananas, and it gets to the point where you're eating about 20 bananas a day for a month, and then every day you get a stomach ache, which hurts a little bit more, but you wouldn't tell anyone because it would always go away, and then one day it didn't go away and you felt like your appendix had burst, so you called an ambulance. And then at the hospital, the doctors tell you that you've overdosed on potassium because you ate too many bananas, and then you go home and you're not a vegan anymore, and then a few weeks later you get a bill in the mail for $300 for your ambulance, and your mum makes you pay for it because it was your fault.
Okay, put a finger down if you were friends with the one weird guy at work because everybody else was mean to him and you didn't want to be mean to him, so you were nice to him instead, and he started telling you too many personal things, like about his younger girlfriend and about the weird things that he did on his free time, and you just ignored it instead because he was already weird. And then one day, since he was a pizza delivery driver, he came in with 2 cups instead of 1, and then he grabbed a female's t-shirt from your workplace, and you're like, wow, that's kind of weird, and you didn't think about it. And then he came in with a purple hickey on his neck, and you said, I'm sorry, is your girlfriend in your car? And he said, haha, yeah, she is, and you just acted like you didn't hear it because it was kind of scary. And then a little time goes by, and he says he's going to go on a food road trip with his friend for a week, and he'll be back, and you say, okay, have fun. And then 4 days into his road trip, the police come into your workplace, and they're looking for you because they think that this girl has been staying with you every time she's come to Florida, and that she lives with you, and you guys have been best friends forever, but really, she's been with him the entire time, and now she's missing, and you're part of a catfish story.
Put a finger down if you're in college and you broke your ankle in January and you had to get surgery which put you in a boot for a few months, and then spring break rolls around in February and you only pack left-footed shoes because you broke your right foot, but then during spring break the university tells you not to come back to campus because they canceled classes for the rest of the semester, and you can't get into your dorm either because they shut them all down until the coronavirus gets better. And then after you've been doing PT and everything and your foot starts to heal up, you decide that you need shoes, but since you have a size 14 foot, you can't go to a store to buy them. So you go online and you see that it takes a minimum of 3 months to get to your house. So now you're stuck with 3 left-footed shoes and 0 right-footed shoes.
Put a finger down if your partner and you moved across the country because he was relocated for work, but you still needed to find a job. And so this company reached out to you out of nowhere saying they had the perfect opportunity as a quality inspection associate. You'd work from home, part-time, make good money. It was perfect because you had nothing else bringing in money at the time. And so you took it. And what you would do is they'd send you packages that were addressed to someone else so that you could inspect them and make sure everything was okay with the product. Or they'd send you to UPS with a notary. You'd pick up the package, bring it home, and do the same thing. Inspect it, make sure it's all good, and then send it back out to the person that you thought ordered it. And then 2 weeks later, after doing this for a while, the police show up at your apartment, and they have guns in your face, a warrant to search your apartment, put you in handcuffs, and tell you that you're being arrested for grand theft and burglary. And it took you like 2 hours outside your apartment handcuffed to convince them that you had no idea what was going on, and turns out you were part of an organized crime scheme.
So, Put a finger down if when you were in 8th grade, you were on vacation with your family to Atlanta, Georgia for the 4th of July, and you remember that night that you were eating fried chicken and drinking Capri Sun, and after a few hours, you were like, I really don't feel that good. And you went to bed at midnight and woke up at about 5 a.m. and you start throwing up, and you realize that something is wrong because it doesn't look like your normal throw up. And when your family asks if you're okay, you say yes, and they ask if you want to go to the Georgia Aquarium still, and you say, of course, because you're resilient and don't know how to say no because of trauma. And when you get there, the staff members ask you if you need a wheelchair, and you're like, wow, do I really look that bad? And you're rolling around through the aquarium and you start blacking out. And then you finally find a bathroom to throw up one more time. And when you do, your mom walks in and she's like, this isn't normal. So she takes you to the hospital. And when you get there, you're prepared for the doctors to tell you that you have cancer or that you're dying. And instead he walks in and says, the reason that your son is so sick, Miss Myers, is because he's constipated and vomiting feces.
Put a finger down if you donated a kidney to your sister because she was dying and you have two, so why not? But you guys were on the same recovery floor, and as she was coming out of her room, you were coming out of yours, and you screamed, give me back my kidney, and everyone thought you were serious, so they sent up a counselor.
Put a finger down if while you were at Disney World you got a call that your grandma had unexpectedly passed away the night before. So when you got back from Disney World, you went to her funeral, and it was really sad because you've never lost a grandparent before. And then the next day you had class and you went to drive to class. So when you went to your car, it was not there, and you called your roommate to see if she knew what was going on, and she had no idea what was happening. So you called the police, and they said no car with that license plate has been towed. So then a cop showed up to the scene, and you filled out missing vehicle information, and then you started dating that cop, and then a couple weeks later they found your car in PA, and it was outside of an abandoned house, and the guy who stole it was inside dead, and then you broke up with the cop.
Put a finger down, evil child edition. Put a finger down if you ever, at 3 years old, went into your mother's bedroom and set her bed on fire, and then proceeded to wake her up and get into bed and say, Mummy, fire, fire, fire. And then she wakes up going, ah! And then your uncle comes out of nowhere and throws water on the bed, and the fire's then put out, and then your mum's crying because she thought she was going to burn alive. But then you say sorry because you have to say sorry. You then go to the kitchen, climb over the baby gate to get into the kitchen, and make her a cold cup of coffee.
Put a finger down, blind girl edition. Put a finger down if you and your friend stopped at a gas station from a road trip and you were holding onto her arm because, that's how you guide a blind person, and the cashier at the gas station was like, wow, you must have been messed up. What's wrong with you? And I was just like, excuse me? And she just goes, you have to be so messed up that you're just so hungover you have to hold on to someone like that. And I was like, I don't drink at all. I'm just blind. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I'm just blind. I'm not hungover, I'm blind. And she's like, oh, I would make a really bad detective. Does that happen to you guys, or is this just a me thing?
All right, put a finger down if you've ever you had your you could you'll do you want you could do so you'll do you could you want them to do so much that you could do anything.